On this episode of the John 1911 Podcast, fixing the range, trail mix bullets, the Jerry Springer of beers, and the biggest bank Jeffrey Epstein never heard of.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is Danny and Marky, and this is episode 305 of the John 1911 Podcast. Today is Wednesday, June 14th, 12:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I always have to timestamp stuff whenever the politics are coming fast and furious, but I promise the listener we're not going to do all politics on this episode. We got a lot of good stuff to cover too, but obviously we're going to have to go into some stuff because our dear leader won't shut his mouth and keeps getting indicted. So, how you been, Danny?
Actually, I'm heartbroken.
Oh, okay. I'll bite. I feel like this is a setup already.
Oh, you are. Actually, this is the weekend I was supposed to spend with you at the range, but we got that canceled, remember?
Yep. We were going to have like a little company thing, and everybody was going to come in, but some people couldn't make it, and so we went ahead and just canceled it because we can't get everybody, then we can't get anybody. So
I understand that. I understand that. But before we get into the politics, I want to say your tractor drag blade is really looking nice on the pit. Those pictures really look good.
Dude, let me tell you something. That blade works so well that I can't even explain how impressed I am with that thing. Like the fact that I was able to just, drag that thing across a couple times and, have it look like that. That was no skill, like it's just incredible, and, like I know you, Mr. Tractor Guy, could have backbladed that, with a bucket and gotten that kind of result, but I've never been able to get it anywhere near that. So I had to do something because we had people starting to fall.
Was that you wrote or one of our listeners wrote on the website, dragging for dummies or something like that, backblading for dummies, whatever that was, but who cares? It worked.
What it is the cool kid tractor guys on the internet, and I'm quickly learning the tractor guys are like gun guys. They can be kind of dickheads about what I know everything and you know nothing, kind of like gun people. And they call the cool kids call these grater scrapers box blades for dummies.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah, because their argument will be, I can do that with a box blade, or I can do that with a rear blade. And it's like, or I can do that back dragging with a bucket. It's like, that's great, good for you, but I don't.
Well,
I don't.
Everyone has their forte.
Well, it's like I'm not in the tractor business.
Right.
I'm in the gun business with a gun range. I don't need to spend 500 hours of tractor seat time just to master grading gravel. You know what I mean? It's just
right.
like, come on.
Yeah, you didn't do miles and miles of highway shoulders like some of us.
Yeah, and so it's like, come on, let's, it just was a good use of time, and
Well, I do have one question for you. How was the hookup process? Simple?
It's a 3-point. I mean, just like any other 3-point.
All right, but when you raise it, and let's say you back all the way up to the edge of the pit and you drop it, was there much to setting the height of the blade or the angle or just down pressure on the 3-point, or did you dig a little deep at first, or was the first pass good?
First pass was good. The thing is, again, I'm going to probably like butcher this for people that know what they're doing. So just, show me a little grace. The grater blade really uses its own weight.
Right.
So, and the thing only weighs, it's just shy of 800 pounds. Like there was one I was looking at that was made by Land Pride, but it was like $1,000 more, and it's 1,000 pound, like high nines, almost 1,000. This is like high sevens, almost 8. So, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just get this thing, and we're just primarily for the pit, the gravel.
Oh,
We do roads,
and
but you
always
just drop it. Well, you drop it, and then if you, I would say this. I don't have a hydraulic top link. So,
right,
if I had a hydraulic top link, which I'm going to be getting, I could make adjustments to the angle of the entire unit a lot
right,
easier. So I just set it level and just drug it. So when you drag it slow, it'll pick up stuff because it will move material. But if you run it fast, it really, it just like it spits it out at an even rate. And that's
right.
kind of what I figured out. Run it, and then you can play games with it. If you hit a low spot, as you're dragging across the pit and there's a low spot, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to raise it and leave this gravel, all of it here, that it is dragging, because it does move material. That's the biggest thing. And again, I don't want to talk about tractors for an hour, but the box blade people will say a grader blade doesn't move material, and it's like, I mean, it doesn't move as much as a box blade, but it absolutely will move material.
Well,
So
and I always remember, there's always a cheater's way. If you ever needed a little bit more down pressure, cinder blocks work wonders.
yeah, we got a ton of them. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could. I mean, be honest, we don't need it. I mean, I mean, again, our applications, we're just going to be using it on property, and primarily
Well,
it's going to be using that pit. And
the pit
so,
does look really good.
oh
It
my God,
really,
yeah.
the pit really looks good.
And
And
those pictures that you saw were just from the day of me running it one time. Like, I actually
really,
came back a couple days later and cleaned up some stuff, and I mean, it's even better than that. That was literally just me running it my first couple passes and then looking at it, and it was like, damn, this is fucking awesome. So
yeah, it is.
yeah,
Well, I'm
so
glad that it's working.
yeah, I'm glad, because I know you were like, I just backbladed. I'm like, fuck, I'm trying, you know, like so. And like everybody's coming in town this weekend, and I'm like, son of a bitch, I got to get this thing straightened out. So, and I've literally had a few people stumble out there, but I mean, yeah, they're cops. It's like whatever, they're fine. But it's like,
It's
you
hard to
know,
hold. Hey, it's hard to hold a coffee and a donut and walk in somewhere. Come on,
yeah. But it's like, like we're all getting older, and I'm like, you know what? I don't need anybody falling out there and hurting themselves. Like, that's on it's on my workman's comp, not the state workman's comp. So I was like, yeah, we're gonna spend about, I can't remember. It was under. I have less than 3,000 in that grater blade delivered, which I
That's
thought
not.
was I thought that wasn't bad at all.
No, no. And well, you're pretty well set now. You got the tractor, you got the blade, you got the mower, you got your, your boom attachment, whatever it is, and that thing, you got it utilized pretty damn well. I got to give you credit
Yeah,
for going in cold and really not knowing. You've done well for yourself.
I'm a guy that I don't intentionally seek out things, but if I have to do something, I'm gonna do it. I mean, I'm not big in the half-assing it. And so yeah, like now, I will admit, I get on Facebook Marketplace and I look at all the tractor attachments for sale used within like probably 200 miles of Cincinnati. If you have a tractor attachment for sale on Facebook Marketplace within 200 miles of Cincinnati, I have looked at your ad. I don't care what it was. I don't care if it's a bale spear or if it's a tiller or a plow or whatever. So, but anyway, let's get
Well,
off of
I,
that.
I just, yeah, before we get into politics, didn't I tell you, if you remember, clear the cobwebs, that once you get that tractor and you start doing your add-ons to it, that's going to take up more time and it's going to be your fetish. Was I correct?
Well,
Was I correct?
it's
Yes.
pretty fun. Like, it's
Well,
pretty
come
fun.
on. Wait, how hard it is for you to say yes or no?
It's so difficult. Like,
Because you know I'm right.
Dude, Donald. Hey, look, I'm like Donald Trump. Those are my presidential papers. Those are my papers.
Oh, what a segue.
What's the attack plan of a? Why are you showing Kid Rock the attack invasion plan on Iran? Those are my, well, those are my presidential papers. It's like, all right, fucking Christ,
I
you know.
know. 19 indictments. Oh, come
No, it's like
on.
37, 37 counts
Oh,
or something.
oh, is that what it was? It's ludicrous. All to me, I just firmly believe this is gonna firm up his stance of even more support. I just really feel that. Because if they'll go after the ex president with hatred, weaponizing different departments, liberal news medias, all this other stuff, they'll do that to anybody. And I think people are starting to see through that thinly veiled scheme of these politicians. I really do. I
I don't
really think
disagree.
people
I
are
don't
seeing.
disagree, but I have a response, and this is important for the listeners, and you better gird your loins because if you listen to the John 1911 podcast, you come here for the truth, and I'm going to tell people the truth whether they want to hear it or not. Some of it they're not going to like to hear. The first thing is Donald Trump is guilty as the day is long. The second thing on this issue, the second thing is if the roles were reversed, and this was say Barack Obama, okay, and there were all these papers that Obama left the White House with that the federal government wanted. And then, then Obama was like, okay, here's the papers, but then he held back 300 things. And even apparently has referred to them as, pull the bad stuff, which I don't even know if that's been confirmed, but that's what they're saying. People would be screaming the high heavens saying Barack Obama is hiding his crimes. Barack Obama is hiding information from Fast and Furious. Barack Obama is hiding information about his birth certificate or whatever bullshit, whatever thing they wanted to talk about. And so with all of that being said, none of this had to happen with Donald Trump. The fact that he was indicted on these document indictments, to me, it's one of two things. It's either he can't, like, if you tell someone they can't do something, they're like, oh yeah. He either has that mental condition where you can't tell him no, and like they just go do it because like, oh, you can't tell me no, fuck you. Or he's doing what became obvious to me that Barack Obama did. At some point during Barack Obama's presidency, nobody's saying this, I'm saying this. At some point during Barack Obama's presidency, when the issue of his birth certificate and whether he was born in Hawaii and was a natural born United States citizen had gotten up to such a high level, Barack Obama could have very easily just decided, just fucking release it, or just let somebody look at it. Just let an interested party go in and look at the thing or whatever. But no. Barry was like, you know what? Let them hang themselves with this. Let them hang themselves. And I can't help but feel that Donald Trump has pushed this issue with the federal government over these documents just to let the federal government hang themselves and pick a fight. Because,
And to solidify his position.
well, it's to pick a fight because he loves to fight and he looks better when he's
Excuse
fighting.
me.
But I'm convinced that Donald Trump isn't stupid. But this whole thing is so stupid. I'm not saying Donald Trump is smart. Donald Trump is either stupid or Donald Trump is either super smart or super retarded because he's here. And okay, now here is where if I've pissed off a lot of people on my side of the aisle, I'm a Republican. I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. I voted for him twice before, and I've given him money. And most people that support Donald Trump have never given him money. So don't at me with this like I'm not a conservative bullshit. Okay, Donald Trump is trying it seems to me Donald Trump is trying, how do I say this? Create crises so he can claim victimhood. Is Donald Trump guilty? The issue of him being guilty is not strictly a legal issue. It is also a political issue. Donald Trump is as guilty as Hillary Clinton was. Donald Trump is as guilty as Hillary Clinton was politically. Donald Trump is as guilty as Hillary Clinton was legally. And that is the only answer here. Like, if I was president and I was dealing with Donald Trump, and I'd be like, give me the fucking documents. Our National Archives are like, give us the fucking documents. And then, like, okay, they turn them over. And then it turns out, not only, apparently, Donald Trump told these lawyers, we'll give them all the documents. Go ahead and sign the affidavit saying we give up all the documents. Well, apparently 300 documents were not turned over. And these attorneys signed they perjured themselves. And it's like, if I was president, I would have basically been like, okay, go down there and get the documents. Take them. And then be like, yeah, don't arrest anybody. Just fucking send the FBI in or go get these fucking documents and take them over to the National Archives. And it's like, oh, he's got 300 more of them? Guess what? We're doing it fucking again. Go down there with fucking machine guns, get the rest of the fucking documents, take them over to the National Archives. Be like, I'm not arresting anybody. I'm not charging a former president. Because we are in this, Donald Trump is forcing an issue, the two-tier justice issue. I'm not saying Donald Trump is doing this because he's smart. I don't know if Donald Trump is doing this because he's a moron. But
I have a little input of my own and a whole maybe different caveat to what you're thinking. I'm thinking Trump's trump card is going to be, and he's going to say, his right as president of declassification, because the declassification system has never ever been pushed this far. And I really feel that is going to be his alibi, his defense, his whatever you want to call it. And yes, I fully agree with you. He is pushing this to a head, but I feel he's got something in his back pocket.
that's where, see, that would be those would be the logical arguments to make, but Donald Trump won't shut the fuck up. So his argument is Presidential Records Act. And these are
Right.
presidential records. And the argument would be, okay, if your claim is under the Presidential Records Act, National Archives are saying no, these are not under the Presidential Records Act, or they need to be reviewed and redacted and collated and secured, then he just turns them over. Okay, but he didn't turn them over. He kept playing games. And what a lot of people don't understand, and I'm not going to claim that I know every particular aspect of this, but I have been exposed to it somewhat. The federal government knows that there were 300, like what they're calling a document. It could be like one document could be 100 pages.
Right.
Or 300 documents, but every document has got a control number on it. And every copy of a document has a control number on it, a separate control number. And then there's records of who made hard copies or who reviewed copies or who looked at copies of this stuff. And so, and like Donald Trump's,
and there's also levels of classification, highly sensitive, eyes only, so on down the line.
Well, there's top secret, top secret code word TSC.
Right.
And
double secret, super probation.
Well, and there is a difference. There's a difference between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is a senior cabinet official in the Barack Obama administration. Donald Trump, when he was president, is what you would call the supreme classifying authority. Okay? The president is everybody that classifies or handles classified documents in the executive branch does so under the authority of the president. And that authority can be delegated to the office or to a cabinet secretary or to a chief of staff. But the authority rests, in this case, because he's the chief executive, rests in the embodiment of the president, he or she personally. And so that
Correct.
person, the president does not have to go through a process to declassify stuff. Now, you will find people out there who will claim that he does, and you will find a law or a statute that will claim that he does. But under the separation of powers in the government, the president has the authority to declassify. I mean, if Joe Biden wanted to walk out tomorrow and say, here are the dead bodies of the aliens everybody's talking about, everybody could have opinions, and you could have congressmen be like, you motherfucker, that's the Chinese now know, and our aliens are better than their aliens, and now they know we have better alien technology, and you're mitigating our whatever. They can have fucking opinions, and people can all talk about, like, well, he was wrong and that was illegal. No, it's not. Donald Trump is so crazy. They apparently have him on tape saying, these are classified, these are highly secret things. I could have declassified them, but I didn't declassify them, so they're super secret. Here, take a look at them. And the thing is, it's like, if they have him on tape saying that, he is as guilty as Hillary Clinton.
But with the next breath, he could just say, I just declassified them.
No, he said it like a month ago. He's not president. He doesn't have the authority anymore.
Oh, okay. I didn't know your timestamp.
No, well, that's the thing. So not only is he as guilty as Hillary Clinton, he won't shut the fuck up. And it's just like,
Right.
I swear, it's almost like he's doing this on purpose.
He's got an ulterior motive. That I agree with. And I feel that he's got some kind of ace in his back pocket that he's going to play, and also in agreement with you, he's going to play that ace, and he is going to put egg on the face of the entire DOJ and the whole Biden administration for orchestrating this. You'll never convince me otherwise.
He forced them. He forced them.
And he's doing that for a reason. He wouldn't push it this far unless he was making, a run at them directly. And I really think that's what it is, both politically and one-upmanship.
Well,
I really feel that.
Okay, so all right, I happen to be old, and
you're not old.
Dementia hasn't quite set in yet. So I remember in the ancient times when Fred Flintstone powered his car with his feet, that, there were limits on certain things we didn't do. So, in ancient history, we had a woman by the name of Lois Lerner. And we had pretty strong evidence that when she worked, she's a political appointee, she worked at the IRS, that she was directing IRS resources to target Tea Party focused groups for, quote, special attention by the IRS for their 501c4s, whatever their political, their tax status was,
right,
to fuck with them and shut them down, put them out of business and cost them money, and otherwise, create a general malaise for conservative, politically active groups that could bolster the other side. And she never went to jail. She never was indicted. She never faced consequences. Then the commissioner of the IRS, Kirk Corian, or whatever his name was,
Right.
He's testifying before Congress about this. She's out of government. And they're like, we want to see the records. We want to see the emails. We want to see the whatevers. And he's like, well, we don't have them. What do you mean you don't
Right.
have them? Well, they were erased. And, like systems are upgraded, the computers are upgraded, and they're gone. And it's like, okay, well, we want the hard drives. So we can give forensics people and they can recreate stuff off the hard drives. And he comes back, he's like, well, it turns out that those hard drives were destroyed. Nobody went to jail. Nobody got in trouble for destroying federal government records. And it was obvious. Lois Lerner, what Lois Lerner did during the Barack Obama administration was probably the biggest political scandal, in my opinion, to hit this country since Watergate. And nobody even remembers her name today. And so, Hillary Clinton, Lois Lerner gets off, Hillary Clinton gets off, because there comes a point where you don't want to go in and start shooting at the other side when you're in power. It's like, well, the politics of the situation kind of outweigh the legality of the situation, and so the right and wrongness of it will be determined by the voters. This used to be kind of the standard. Like, again, people listen to this podcast. What the Justice Department did under the direction of Eric Holder in sending untraceable firearms into Mexico, that it was learned later to create an international crisis of violence and gun violence and cartel violence on the border with American guns to politically affect the narrative of gun control in the United States. And then they got caught. Nobody went to jail over that. Was it Brian Terry, the Border Patrol agent? No one remembers his fucking name. He died
Yes.
because of it. And and so you can just do this again like all we hear for now 7 or 8 years is everything Trump. Talking about the ties he had made in China, talking about his hotels, talking about his businesses, talking about his taxes. Then it's like, then he's like, well, he's an agent of the Russians and, all this other kind of shit. And every little thing that, Donnie does or the boy or the girl or the nephew or whatever, all this bullshit that comes out, it's nonstop. But you literally, this is not a joke. You can't find a member of the Biden family with a search warrant. And that is apparently not hyperbole. That is apparently an actual statement of fact.
Yes, it
And
is,
this,
because
and
I have been watching the Senate investigations of the FBI these last few days. Are they interesting? Oh, are they interesting? Have you watched any of them?
no.
And of course, they're grilling the FBI people over this whole Biden thing and Burisma and this, that, and all the other stuff. And all of a sudden, they have memory
Well,
loss.
but I think it's really interesting is, we've gone through all this drama with the FBI over the past about 8 years. Yeah, let's see, 4 years of Trump, 6, then, a couple years before, probably 7 years. All this bullshit with the FBI, and it's like they're on thin ice. Like, the arguments can be made. I've made the argument that we can shut down the FBI and create a new entity and probably break it up because it's becoming a danger to the republic. And then Congress is like it. Congress has decided if you're going to fuck with Trump, we're going to fuck with the Bidens. So Congress is like, suddenly they have newfound interest in how Joe Biden and his family make money, and the FBI apparently has some kind of paperwork, documentation, investigative product on this, and the Congress knows it. Congress is like, give it up, and the FBI is like,
Well, whistleblowers have been
I know,
coming
but the
forward.
FBI is like, no. It's like, okay, I don't know where in the Constitution, advise and consent and congressional oversight doesn't fall under the FBI. Or over the FBI. I don't, it's like, okay, it's like, all right, this is the world we live in. The Donald Trump stuff is so crazy. But
Oh, it's to me, between Donald Trump, the FBI, the Biden, this is just the tip of the iceberg of the future to come of getting back at each other.
well, I don't know if that's necessarily good for the country. So, okay, but here's the thing, like
No, it's
we
not.
all know, look, like why haven't I watched the congressional hearings on Hunter
Because
on
because you pay me to do
yeah,
it.
yeah, that's right. But the other reason is, all right, let's be real here. You're listening to this podcast. There is nothing I can tell you about Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and China and Ukraine, as far as the Bidens are concerned, that you don't already know. There's nothing in those hearings that you don't already know. Most of those hearings are just chances for elected officials from, Ohio 2 and, Kansas 4 to get up there and get their soundbite in so they can run their commercials. It's a dog and pony show as well. Because if they were really serious about this, if they were really serious about it, it would be immediate special counsel.
Right. Exactly.
So they're not
But
interested in they're not interested in actually solving these problems or solving these crimes or clearing the docket. They're just interested in hurting Biden politically and embarrassing the
right.
Democrats. And that's what all you have to keep that in mind. These guys up on Capitol Hill are not operating in your best interest either. You think they are because they're on your team and you're wearing their jersey, but they're in the business of keeping themselves in power. They're in business of making sure they win re-election again, so maybe they can also, do the insider trading and make a bunch of money and somehow become multimillionaires on a $174,000 a year salary. And that may seem very
Yeah.
overly cynical, but it's not wrong.
Yeah. Very interesting point. Very interesting point.
Speaking,
All I
again,
oh, go
no,
ahead.
well, I was going
No.
to switch. Speaking of salary,
Yeah, I'm ready to switch too. I just want to get my last
get
thing in.
in.
The whole point of watching these hearings and then listening to the talking heads, be it Fox, CNN, MSNBC, afterwards, it is all like you had just, they're trying to get the Bidens, Democrats trying to get Trump. It's all a game of one-upmanship. It's
Yeah,
just really, really
it's
disgusting.
it's it's just jersey waving, most of it, and it's just like whatever,
Right.
you know. But
Right.
okay,
All right. Well,
speaking of money,
yeah, switch gears.
so have you seen any of the Tucker Carlson episodes that he does release them on Twitter apparently? Have you seen any of this?
No, I have not. No, I have not.
Well, see, that's not a good sign because you're a Fox News viewer and you always watch Tucker Carlson. And now that he's not
Used
on
to.
Fox and he's putting out his 18-minute shows, you're not consuming it.
That's bad for the sponsors.
Well, apparently the last I heard, like the episode 2, I guess he had over 30 million views. And then episode 3, which I haven't seen, um I've heard 100 million, but maybe that's not right. Maybe that's an aggregate of all three or whatever it is. But I've seen some of what he talks about, and it's like, I mean, because I've watched 2 of them, and I mean, I do like the fact they're only 18 minutes. Um, he talks about he was talking about some stuff that I was surprised he brought up. In particular, one of the things he brought up is talking about Barack Obama's personal life. And back that and his quote was, it's obvious that Barack Obama had a very strange personal life. And it's like, okay, like we'd heard some rumors. I remember I had heard a rumor out of somebody in Washington, but I just figured it would come out. I can't remember. Is it the Hay? What, I can't remember the hotel, but so I don't know if Barack Obama was visiting this hotel or was staying in the hotel. Maybe he had a fight with Michelle. And it was like, I don't know, like something weird was going on there. And but the way Tucker Carlson was talking about it, he was almost intimating it was kind of like the media was covering for Barack Obama, um, uh, like the media covered for JFK. And I'm like, okay, like this, and it reminds me of um, what's the Me Too guy, Harvey Weinstein. Harvey
Right.
Weinstein in Hollywood. It's like, okay, like I didn't know who fucking Harvey Weinstein was. Most people who lived in the real world didn't know who Harvey Weinstein was. But apparently, for years, Harvey Weinstein has been chasing down women, in Hollywood and doing all kinds of crazy shit to them to give them parts in movies. And everybody in Hollywood knew this, but they all kept it quiet because they're all in the club. Now, you're telling me, Tucker Carlson, I don't know if this is true, but you're telling me that we went from the media had a hands-off attitude towards Barack Obama and covered for him. There was all this crazy shit going on in his personal life, and I had to look into even more. But some of it I was legitimately shocked by. It was like, what? That can't be right. And then we went to Donald Trump, where it's like Donald Trump literally walks down a ramp funny, and it's people analyze
It's national
it's like we have to analyze his mind. And all of a sudden now we're to Joe Biden, and you can't find a Biden with a search warrant, and no questions. And it's like, okay, and so then it's like now we're Donald Trump with his bullshit self-induced problems, and it's like, okay, that's a big story. It's like, and you can see the patterns here where the hypocrisy is becoming so great that people get upset by it. And so, but going back to Tucker Carlson, I don't know. I don't know where he's going with this show. Like, I don't. I'm not so certain that Tucker's a sure thing monetarily.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't agree. Most people don't agree. But I'm looking at it. I'm just looking at Tucker. I'm looking at what the two shows I saw. And, like, I mean, Tucker Carlson really hates fucking Ukraine. And I'm like, I get it. I support what we've done so far in Ukraine. I don't support sending troops in. But you know what? If NATO wants to defend Ukraine down to the last Ukrainian, I'm all about it. But I don't think you should be ghoulish about it like Lindsey Graham either. It's fucking crazy. Um, I'm not, I just, I feel like the Tucker Carlson thing, it's kind of like, oh, the red wave is coming, the red wave is coming, the red wave is coming, and the red wave didn't come. And everyone that was like, I mean, even the left was like, where's the red wave? Because they all thought that a red wave was coming. And I'm starting to feel like the Tucker Carlson TV show thing was more of a herd mentality versus the reality. Like, Tucker Carlson's got to go somewhere with his show and what he's trying to do. And I don't know. I'm not quite feeling it yet. And apparently Fox News sent him a cease and desist order on his show. Did you hear about that? Or a cease and desist
Uh,
letter?
right, because wasn't he supposed to stay quiet and he will receive his guaranteed money because they fired him? But I don't know if his pods violate you know the order, so I don't know.
Mm, well,
Yes,
okay. So words matter, right?
yes.
Fired in this case would mean breaking a contract. Tucker Carlson signed, I'm just speaking objectively, Tucker Carlson signed a contract for 20 million or 25 million dollars. And they took him off the air, but he's still under contract.
So Fox is liable for still paying him. But what are the nuances of the taking him off the air for him to get his money? That's where it becomes
Fox
interesting.
News is not. It's not a nuance. Fox News's position is we are still paying him. He's under contract. He cannot do a show. Fox News has decided they would rather pay him to not be on the air for the next couple of years than to possibly face him against them on primetime. That's their game. That's their play. I mean, I don't think a lot of people understand that. Fox News is not refusing to pay Tucker. Tucker's argument is you broke the contract. I don't want your money. I'm going to do my own thing. And it's like, all right, like, I mean, I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm starting to wonder if maybe Tucker should just take that money.
Unless his new gig is more lucrative than what he was supposed to be with in guaranteed money. Who
He's
knows?
not. He's running.
Who
He's
knows?
doing 18. He's doing 18-minute YouTube videos or in Twitter videos, and there's no commercials and there's no sponsors. And I don't think it's. I don't think the show is as interesting as as his show on Fox News.
Who knows the mindset?
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Maybe he's gonna get into politics. Who knows?
there was. I'm just saying. Like, well, okay. Well, here's another one. Like, I think a lot of people, there's a lot of our listeners know who this person is. I'm about to bring this person up. Person's name is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is very popular, become very powerful, and Joe Rogan, had his podcast that went out RSS feed everywhere, went on YouTube and all the other kind of stuff. Then he was scooped up by Spotify for, was it $100 million? Like a 4 or 5 year, maybe a 5 year. Yeah, it's like 100 million, 20 million a year for 5 years exclusive. So if you wanted to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, you had to go to Spotify. They paid him. He signed a contract and they paid him. And all of his shit, all of Joe Rogan's shit disappeared off the internet. And I noticed a couple years, I don't know, about 18 months ago, they started Joe Rogan's podcast organization started releasing clips onto YouTube. And it's like, why would they do that with the $100 million contract with Spotify? I'm convinced that the Spotify $100 million Joe Rogan contract, wow, was good for Joe Rogan, ultimately is not good for Spotify. And I think probably significantly reduced the reach of the Joe Rogan podcast. I don't think they've ever released the numbers, but I would not be surprised if the Joe Rogan podcast reaches only 50% of the people that it used to reach. Because I think
So,
there's a lot of people that just won't go to Spotify.
are you trying to say long term, maybe back deal hush money for him to lose audience, knowing that this would be the detrimental effect of him being, the one only one avenue to broadcast on with Spotify, and everything else now is off YouTube, this or that, because they have the rights. Do you think it could have been they knew this going
No, because
in?
they wouldn't have paid him. They wouldn't have paid him the money. I don't think it's. I don't think. I feel like a lot of these deals are kind of like Carvana. Ever heard of Carvana?
Yes, I
Yeah,
do.
Carvana is going to go bankrupt. Carvana
I sure they
Carvana is
are.
going to go bankrupt. You heard it from me.
They
Well,
overpaid. They've
but
overpaid.
Carvana is a business because they their business model is they're not making money, they're growing, and they're just growing and growing and growing, and they're basing it off their stock value. But Carvana isn't actually making money, and I feel like okay, take Tucker Carlson, his situation with Fox, and whether pay me, don't pay me, I want to do my own shit, or no, you can't do your own shit. Okay, you take Joe Rogan. when the Joe Rogan podcast is over, when the Joe Rogan podcast reaches the end of its 5-year deal with Spotify, I would seriously doubt Joe Rogan would renew the contract. I mean, like they would have to
Yeah.
offer him so much money, it would be crazy. I mean, like if they were like, "We'll offer you $1 billion for lifetime," like something so insane. But I feel like Joe Rogan, this was like, well, I got my 100 million. Now I can just monetize, do my own thing and monetize and sell commercials directly. I've got fuck you money. I don't need this. Like, they're going to offer him another 100 million, or it may very well be at the end of the contract that people, all of a sudden, all these harpies that scream about everything politically correct are going to be like, don't renew Joe Rogan because he's all this stuff, and it's just like, all right, I feel like a lot of people, they go into things or they start things with assumptions. They report it. People assume it's true. They read the headlines. And then, they move on down the road and nobody circles back to look at how it worked out. And, I think that's a big weakness, I think, in our media today. And I'm looking at Tucker Carlson and I'm looking back at Joe Rogan, and they're not talking about it. But I don't think that Joe Rogan deal has actually worked out for Spotify's benefit. And I don't know, Tucker Carlson better, right now, what I'm seeing Tucker Carlson do, it's not working. He needs to straighten up and fly right. I don't know what that means because I'm not Tucker Carlson, but the
Well,
shit he's doing right now is not working.
well, between Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan and the life lessons that we could look back and see what they're doing, when a multi-million-dollar corporation wants to come to you and buy us out, we know, nah, we don't want that control.
Yeah, well, wait a minute, hold on. Well, here's another one, because I did not know who this. I remember it was towards the end of the Trump administration, and this guy showed up at the White House to interview Trump, and I remember being like, "Who the fuck is this person?" Dave Portnoy.
Oh, I
Yeah,
follow
because
him.
is it Barstool?
Barstool Sports,
Yeah,
he
Barstool
founded.
Sports, which basically is not that different from John 1911. I mean, just
No, he's got millions of
oh, I know,
followers
but
too.
he started off just a guy with a website, and
He started off as a pizza reviewer. That's what his main
well, that was
thing.
one of his.
It's called One Bite. He reviews pizzas, and from his reviewing pizzas, it has grown and grown and grown, and then into Barstool Sports, and now into as big
So
as he
you're,
is.
I
His
thought the
main,
pizza thing was just a shtick that they had done. You're saying he started as that?
yes, and he's still doing it, to this day.
Now, but weren't they
And
bought out? Now wasn't somebody like one of the big casino? Somebody bought his ass out like in the past
Penn,
6 months.
Penn, Penn
Oh,
National
okay. Oh,
Gaming.
yeah, those guys. Yeah, okay. Um, and somebody said something or did something in the organization, and Penn National Gaming fired him because it was probably off color. I remember, no one even cares, something off color. And Dave Portnoy came out and he's like, "Hey, I sold out. I took the check." He's like, "They can fire him." And it's like, okay, like, I don't know. Does Dave Portnoy destroy? I mean, like, I don't know. Or has Dave Portnoy become the what's the band? Rage Against the Machine. You probably don't know who they are. Rage Against the Machine is this alternative punk rocky metal-y kind of band, and they're all kind of little commies. That was kind of their thing. And they had some good songs, but then they've now gotten to be older because they've been around for a while, and killing in their song "Killing in the Name of," and so, but they started demanding that people show up at their concerts vaccinated, and now people were like, Rage Against the Machine is now the machine. Rage Against the Machine is the man. And it's like, eventually everybody gets a turn. Like, everybody gets a turn in the barrel. And it's like, Dave, I think, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how things work out. So, but I think about Dave Portnoy, and I think about Tucker Carlson. I think about Joe Rogan quite a bit on just how it's all working out. So,
Well, Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Hey, yeah, so
crazy.
hey, you're obviously an umpire. Danny is an actual a baseball umpire, and for our new listeners. And have you seen all those videos of the basketball players? Again, because it's basketball, but it's sports. The basketball players that like keep flashing guns on the internet and getting in trouble. Have you seen that?
No, I try. I, when people want to be stupid like that, I tend not to watch things like that.
Well, okay, they're just, like whatever. And it's like, but I was thinking about this and it's like, oh, we have this new gun policy and whatever. It's like, well, wait a minute. Why does, okay, if you just want to be like Donald Trump and troll everybody, be like, they're my papers. What if one of these basketball players is just like, today I'm starting a gun channel. I'm a gun tuber. Like it's like, it's nothing fancy. Mr. Guns and Gear, John 1911, and like LeBron James gun channel, LeBron James gun collection, and just does videos shooting guns. What's the NBA going to fucking do? You're like, I was like, what's your new contract? You get do this. Like, wait a minute, I got the second. You can sign all kinds of shit in the contract, but you take the money
Well,
away, but
and now having you said that, I could see the agents calling you, wanting to film at the range with celebrities. Here it comes. You open the door.
well, one thing that we have to do if we're gonna, I got to do this real quick. So if we're gonna have people at the range, we're gonna have to make sure we have power at the range. And so we need to talk about Patriot Power. Patriot Power. National security experts are warning our aging power grid is more vulnerable than ever. January marked the third time a power station in North Carolina was damaged by gunfire recently. Authorities are saying the attack raises a new level of threat. Authorities are now checking our grid for vulnerabilities. They've identified 9 key substations. If these substations are attacked, power could be knocked out from coast to coast for up to 18 months. With new Patriot Power Generator 2000X, you get a solar generator that doesn't install in your house because it's portable. You can take it with you, even use it inside. But it's powerful enough for your phones, medical devices, or even your fridge. And right now, you can go to 4patriots.com and use code John1911 to get 10% off your first purchase on anything in the store, including the Patriot Power Generator. That's 4patriots.com. Use code John1911 to get yours today. So take that, Dave Portnoy. I'm selling out. We so we
You sold out to the man.
I sold out to apparently the man has solar powered generators.
Well, they might come in handy if we ever get a light bar, for night shooting. You never know.
Yeah. Hey. What's what's um
You're
what's
dancing.
the no the country? Who's the country guy who has been around a long time? At one point, he tried to be like a heavy metal guy and like change his name, like an alternative identity. Then like that didn't work out, and do you remember who I'm talking about? I guess he's come out and he's like he's got a bar in Nashville like they all do. I didn't know this, but apparently if you're in country music, you have a bar in Nashville,
Oh,
which
are you talking about Garth Brooks selling Bud Light?
yeah.
That's why you have me on payroll.
That's why I have you. So I couldn't, dude. I couldn't pull him out of the lineup. I
And
mean,
and Garth Brooks' quote was, "We're going to sell all beers," but apparently the Bud Light, uh, you know, bad feedback has all kinds of fans nationwide and in Nashville saying, "Hey, we're going to boycott your joint."
I mean, yeah. I mean, apparently Bud Light's lost over $30 billion.
Real? Oh, that's why they're
A,
going to have
mar-
it out there.
a market capitalization. Yeah, you haven't. Yeah, Bud Light's lost. I guess TJ Maxx or what? Not TJ Maxx. What is it?
One
Target.
one
TJ Target.
Yeah, 1.4
Huh?
billion. I heard at
I,
that Anheuser Busch has lost. Wouldn't you
oh
think they
no,
would?
no, dude,
Wouldn't you
no,
think they
dude.
would?
Anheuser Busch has lost. I think the last I heard was $36 billion in
Okay,
market cap.
now
Huh?
I am not very well educated on market share or this or that. wouldn't you think they would do a 180-degree turnaround, fire all the stuff to do with this LGTV, stuff, whatever it is, and say, hey, we messed up. We're going back to our roots.
Well, they have been. Apparently, they've been running Clydesdale commercials and running commercials with veterans, and I mean,
But they still have that other guy on the payroll, that Mulvaney or whatever it is.
I don't think that person's on the pay. I mean, they paid I mean, they did something with that person, but that they're not doing that. I mean, they're not. That is not an active thing. But you know what? You know what? Let's talk about. I want to talk about that for a minute because again, you're listening to the John 1911 podcast. Okay, you're coming here for the truth, and we gotta be real here. Okay, like, look, I have no problem, and I think most people that are um, want to boycott Bud Light have no problem with gay people. They have no problem with all that stuff. But it's like, it's like you're jamming it all down our throats. You're trying to trans the kids and all this crazy nonsense and just crazy, crazy, crazy. But let's talk about the Bud Light thing in particular because nobody's saying this. So and I'm going to be respectful to this person, Dylan Mulvaney. I think Dylan Mulvaney actually is his real birth name. I don't think he was named Tom Mulvaney, then changed the name to Dylan. I think he's always been Dylan. I think so, but I'll call it. I'm gonna call her her. It's fine for whatever.
Okay,
No,
Mr. Pronoun.
no. I'm no. Just hear me out. I'm gonna make a point here. This is important, okay? Because nobody's saying this. So if you look at Dylan Mulvaney is live again. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying I understand it. I'm saying whatever. But Dylan Mulvaney is living whatever she thinks is her best life. Okay, just hear me out because if you're conservative, you're gonna like this, and this is gonna enlighten you. I promise you. Let me get to the end of it. She's she's like this, like apparently a Broadway acting kid. They called her like a club, like, or a theater kid. That's why she acts like this and dresses, and like all this sexual identity stuff. This person lives in probably I don't know where, New York, or but this person is living in like a theater, trans, gay, whatever community life, right? And this person kind of popped a little bit. Like Joe Biden brought her ass to the White House. Joe Biden brought Dylan Mulvaney to the White House to have like a day talking to him or do shit at the White House is really no different than uh, Donald Trump bringing Dave Portnoy. Because literally I saw this Dylan Mulvaney person, this weird campy girl that turns out wasn't a girl at the White House. I'm like, who the fuck is this person? And why is this person at the White House? And why is this a big deal? And it's just like Dave Portnoy. I'm like, who the fuck is this person? What news organization is this? Why is this? Who is this? I don't know I don't understand. What it is you'll get organizations that decide, hey, I want to get some shine or some glean off of a topic. Like John Kerry decides, hey man, let's go put on some camo and go duck hunting and take pictures. And it's like that's some contrived bullshit. And so you had these executives at Bud Light, okay, and it's this woman in particular, and she has her own worldview. She's like, well, this brand is in decline, and it's very fratty, and it's this low rent kind of thing. This argument she's making, and we need to try to appeal to more people. We try to increase sales, but she's got this tunnel vision, and she doesn't want to realize the reason Bud Light apparently doesn't actually is sinking as a brand before all this shit happened is because there's Bud Light is apparently a shit product, and every street, just like you can get a Kydex holster in every town in America, every town in America has a microbrewery in it, and you can get all these custom beers. So you don't have to deal with these giant corporations. But no, she's in her own world, and she's just like, I'm gonna she likes this politically correct Dylan Mulvaney person. And Bud Light reached out to Dylan Mulvaney and said, hey, let's work together. Let's put you on. And how do I say this? Remember the Jerry Springer show?
Yeah, of course. I went to it twice.
Of course you did.
I
So
did.
I had Jerry Springer. I had talked to bookers that used to work for these shows, and bookers are people that call around and they try to get these people to show up. And it's like when a booker from a TV show contacts, you know, I'm gonna contacts some toothless hillbilly and says,
Why?
"Hey,
Why'd you marry your cousin and have a
yeah,
kid?
and says, "Hey, I want to, you married your sister, which come on the Jerry Springer show and let's talk about it." And what the booker will say, well, the booker will be like, "Hey, we want to hear your story. We think it's really interesting. You're in love. It's whatever," and like, and real sympathetic. And then slowly it turns into, "But hey, we're going to bring in, is there someone in your family that maybe doesn't approve? Like, and what's Aunt Sally? So we're going to call Aunt Sally, and we're gonna sit down and we're going to have this thing, and it's going to be on TV." And it'll be good. And people start thinking, "I'm going to be on TV, and like I don't know, maybe I could be famous, or this will be great. I'm going to be on TV. Like, this is an opportunity." And what ends up happening is they rope these people in, and they end up on these shows. And then next thing you know, it's like people are throwing chairs and they're lighting their Ku Klux Klan hoods on fire, and it turns into a giant disaster. And the more I look at, because now I've been forced to look at this Dylan Mulvaney person, the fact that Bud Light, they thought it was a good idea, not just for them, but they didn't think about her or him. They literally set this person up to fail. And the fact that, like, well, no, we didn't because we love it. It's like that you didn't have this. You're a professional and you work in the beer industry, and you didn't have enough self awareness, or you refused to 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 see how this was going to go, and all you did is you turned this person who is trying to live their best life, okay? And now everybody in America that hates or really doesn't understand this or doesn't want to be a part of this now knows this person's name, now says this person costs Bud Light $30 billion, and has now turned this person's life upside down. How is this any different in some ways than like that, the kid, the who's the kid that up at Kenosha who shot the people that were attacking him?
Oh, the one with the trophy wife.
Oh God, that's right. Don't. Oh my God, yeah. Yeah. How quickly we forget their names. But like the
Oh my
media took
gosh.
that kid. The media took that kid, and they wanted to make him the poster child of like white supremacy or some bullshit. And then
Yep.
the right wanted to take that kid and make him the poster child of of whatever political argument they want to make at the time. And
Right.
they just everyone used that kid. They used him and abused him, and now he's going to have to live with that, and everyone knowing who he is for the rest of his life.
And $70 million.
What do you mean $70 million?
Well, he got that giant settlement from all these news organizations that defamed him. Of course, it's supposed to be hush hush, but some of the rumors are, with everything combined, the big one was from CNN that they had to pay, but all these other people that he sued and had won, I heard it's up to totaling $70 million.
Really? Where'd you hear that at?
I read that somewhere. Nothing is confirmed, but there were a lot of settled lawsuits, and after CNN paid the big one, all these other news organizations just followed suit and just basically paid them off.
Wow. See, I haven't heard that. Like, cause I hear conflicted things. If you can get me a link or a story,
I'll
somewhere where
try.
they think it's 70 million, because I'd be surprised he got that much money, but from different organizations. But it's like they use these people, like, like, again, I've even given this example in the past. Um,
Kyle
Kyle
Rittenhouse.
Rittenhouse, and you wait, hold on. I don't want to glib over this. You're the one that sent me the picture with the wife, right?
Yeah, the trophy wife.
So Kyle Rittenhouse, and and again, this is I'm kind of making the point.
True
So
love.
true, okay. So because Kyle Rittenhouse is now a national figure, or he's trying maybe not to be. So now we all get to have an opinion on Kyle Rittenhouse's life. So Kyle Rittenhouse has now shown up with a woman who he's married, and it's like you look at these two. I don't. I have to see the picture again. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't. And maybe she's a. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're about the same level. But do you remember what she looked like? Well, I mean, is he like? Is Kyle Rittenhouse like? I don't know. Would Kyle Rittenhouse be maybe like a I don't know, like maybe a 6 or maybe a 6, maybe a 7? And is she a 10?
An 11.
She's an 11? God, I hope so. Because what's going to happen is people listen to this podcast, they're going to go dig up this woman's picture, and if she's not an 11, they're going to hammer the shit out of you. So,
True love.
true love. Yeah, true love. Sentiment. So it's just like, and it's like,
Yeah, I'd like to find out, but everything is so hush hush, the amount of what he really has. But I heard it's in the millions.
yeah, yeah, I mean, so,
Well, who knows?
remember,
But like you said, set up for failure, and now
yeah,
he's laughing about
remember,
it.
like, again, I've said this, it's been a long time, but during the Bush administration, there was the, um, Sidney Sheehan, during the Iraq War, her son died and she'd met with
Right,
Bush, and then she became this anti-war person, and they literally drug her around everywhere until the 2004 election was over, and then they dropped her like a bad habit, and she thought that she
right.
was important, and she thought they cared about her, and she thought she was going to go somewhere and going to have a voice at the table, and they were like, nope, election's over, Bush won, fuck you, you're out of here, moving on to the next thing. And she ended up moving to California, to Nancy Pelosi's district, because she thought she was somebody, and primaried Nancy Pelosi for her seat in a Democratic primary. And
Yep.
just how important she thought she was. And it's just like they used her, they abused her, and they dropped her.
Well, always remember the old adage: you're useful till you're useless.
And you know what? I'm just going to make this point here. If you are somebody, and at what point is the worm going to turn and people are going to start to realize that Bud Light hurt this Dylan Mulvaney person?
But I don't think the average person really cares, or how much they're going to look at it the other way. They're going to look at the Dylan Mulvaney hurt Bud Light because they're going to see the sales decline, the loss of the money, this or
But
that.
how is that?
You
But
know,
how is that fair to Dylan Mulvaney?
it's not. But I'm
Okay,
just saying what people are going to look at first.
yeah, they are, because that's the thing, and that's because it's not fair to Dylan Mulvaney, and at least and it's just like like this person's like, wait a minute, you're gonna do this and that and whatever, and okay, yeah, okay.
And, and now touching on that, I could see next week's pod brought to you by Bud Light.
Fucking
They want to do a
Christ.
180-degree turn.
Yeah,
Now we're gonna sponsor a a, a politically incorrect gun channel.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think everybody pretty much. I mean, I piss off. I seem like I piss off everybody. I'm not trying to be, but it's like, yeah, the soup.
Well, here's the thing: we speak for real, and some people can't handle the truth. And that's it. That's how I look at it.
Um, so I got one more. We'll do one more thing, and then we'll go ahead and do the police blotter, and we'll get out, because I know you got a schedule to keep, and I got to
Yes, I
get back to
do.
work here in the armory. Let me.
Yeah.
So have you heard of? Have you ever heard of you know what a micronation is?
No.
Okay, and
I
I've never I'm like, okay, like you may see a thing like some dude, like he owns like 11 acres of land in Scotland, and then if you pay him $200, he'll give you a royal title or some shit. You know what I mean? Like you can be the Duke of the Duke of Bud, like whatever.
yeah.
You can be the Prince of Pink, and here's the royal decree, whatever. So this guy I'm all for. I love this story. This guy in California. Let's get the name here. Hold on, just hold on with me. Da, 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 Okay, here's the headline. California man creates his own micronation called Slowjamastan in desolate Golden State Desert. A DJ who's visited all 193 countries set up his own 11-acre micronation called Slowjamastan, where prospective citizens are banned from wearing Crocs. Uh, not only is he's a DJ from San Francisco, and he has appointed himself the Sultan of the country. Sultan of the country, Randy.
Oh, he's a
He's a
sultan.
sultan, and his Randy R. Dub Williams has visited every UN designated country. And let's see what else. But our residents are outlawed for including wearing Crocs, eating. Here's his rules. Like any country, the micronation has rules. Our residents are outlawed from wearing Crocs, eating string cheese by biting it instead of pulling apart, and playing mumble rap music. so
Well, I like that conservative outlook.
Yeah, and then there's a picture of him. He looks like one of these crazy, he looks like the dictator, and it's Slowjamastan. And I'm just like,
He's
dude.
a sultan.
And there's
You get
even
it
a
right.
picture. There's a picture of him there's like a People's Republic of Slowjamastan. He's got a passport, and it's got a coat of arms on it. And it's like, oh my god. I just
Oh, speaking of crazy law stuff, did you get any feedback on the quarry dump truck and the weight ticket?
we've got no feedback. I was wondering if we would eventually hear from either the dump truck driver or the state trooper and be like, I wrote that motherfucker that ticket. But no, we haven't. We haven't actually. It actually got a lot of press, but no, we haven't heard from anybody yet. But if you are involved in the most expensive overweight ticket in the state of Illinois that we referenced,
Please contact
yeah,
us.
podcast at John1911.com. So, all right. So I got three for the police blotter, and we go ahead and toss it. So the first
Sounds
one
good.
comes out of Ecuador, and there's a woman. I think she's in her 70s, and she passed away, and she's in a wooden coffin. And they're all mourning. All of a sudden, they start hearing from the coffin, and they're like, "What the hell?" They open it up, and she's alive. She's breathing, and she's alive. Apparently, she'd had some stroke, and it's like, man, I'm glad I didn't try to embalm her. Um, but it's like, that's just a horrendous story. The second story is going to be a police blotter story, but it's going to sound like it's a financial story. So, did you hear that J.P. Morgan, has settled with the victims of Jeffrey Epstein?
No, I did not.
So, Jeffrey Epstein did business with J.P. Morgan Chase. And I won't get into all of it, but I know quite a bit about it. And he was talking about he was name dropping all these famous people, and he was trying to act as an intermediary to bring Prince Andrew on, and they could do a fund and do all this, and Chase would be involved. It was all this this real inbreeded like country club kind of like you know if who and this versus what kind of bullshit. And so here's what happened. So eventually, the the wheels have been turning on the Epstein stuff. It's like, where did he get his money from? And then like, where did he keep his money? How did he administer his money? Well, then there was a bank. Let's talk about the bank. And so they identified a guy who was like, I can't remember his actual title, but basically think of him like a high net worth manager at Chase Bank. And he'd been target of a lawsuit, Chase Bank, and they had all been subpoenaed, and they all had, Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO of Chase, he'd done his whatever, like, I didn't know this, I didn't know that, I didn't know this, I didn't know that, whatever. I'd never talked about whatever. And so, they're going on. So now they got to the guy, the individual manager, and that manager was like, oh no, no. I mean, I couldn't do $100 million deals without talking to the CEO of the bank. I couldn't do this. Jamie Dimon absolutely knew about all this and all that. And so then the people who are suing Chase Bank over the Epstein stuff, are like, hey, we want to have the CEO of Jamie Dimon come back in and sit down. We got some more questions for another deposition. And all of a sudden, it's like Chase Bank settled.
Really? Hush money.
And nobody's talking about it, and nobody that they are talking about it, they're not talking about the way I just described it. But that's exactly what happened. Is they got the CEO, he's like, no, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I never talked to the guy. And the guy's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Anyone that thinks I can't do $100 or $400 million deal and not talk to the CEO of my fucking bank is a moron. And they're like, nope, settle, nope, it's over. And they wrote him a check. So that's the second one. The third one, and this is an example of the news, how you got to be careful what you listen to and who you listen to, because they can introduce ideas into your head that are stupid. And so here's one. I mean, it's okay to like be objective and be like, well, let's look at this, but they've looked at this. This is reference to John Lennon. Remember, John Lennon was shot and killed by John Hinckley, right? Is that his name? John Hinckley? Do you remember that?
Yes.
John Hinckley?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And John Hinckley was this crazy stalker guy, and he shot John Lennon outside of his apartment in New York. I remember when this happened, and John Hinckley at the time was obsessed with a book. I believe it was Catcher in the Rye. And, and like the Catcher in the Rye talks about like the innocence of children and, whatever. But this person, John Hinckley's crazy. And so what they did is they apparently found somebody in the United Kingdom was looking at a John Lennon autopsy and discovered that John Lennon, I think, had different bullets in his body. He was like one kind of bullet was like maybe a lead bullet, another kind of bullet might have been a hollow point, another kind of bullet may have been a whatever.
Ball ammo, whatever.
Yeah, like it was like they weren't all the same bullet. And so they're like,
okay,
was there a second shooter that shot John Lennon? And like this got everybody all riled up in England, as if like people that care about this, like there's a conspiracy. Like did John Hinckley have help? It's like, no, assholes. John Hinckley had a fucking revolver, and like a lot of street guns, they have whatever ammo they have in them, and a lot of times it's shit.
Mix and match.
Yeah, it's mix and match. It doesn't match.
Wait, hang on. Hang on. Yeah, I've got 2 hollows, 2 balls. Yeah, I got a mix and match. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I have dealt with, I don't want to go into too much, but I mean, I've dealt with street guns, and for that usually has, fucking mixed nuts ammo in it. So anyway, so like, but like you read this in the papers in the UK, and it's like, oh my God, what's going on? Like what they're hiding something. It's the Illuminati. It's like, oh God. It's like, no, it's not. It's just some asshole with some bullshit
that doesn't know shit about
know shit about shit. Doesn't know shit about the street. So
how about it?
All right. Well, this wraps up episode 305 of the John 1911 podcast. You want to see numerous stories or pictures, links of anything we discussed, please go to the website at John1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.
Bye-bye.